this. I know I said it earlier, but I want to say it again in relation to that video we played just now, showing that Jamaican citizen or fellow Jamaican refusing to shake the hand of the country's prime minister. I gather simply because they are on opposite side of the political fence. But you saw there in that video Damian Crawford, and I want to say big up to Damian Crawford for attempting to do the right thing there. I just want to say that again. He attempted to do the right thing there by trying to get this party supporter to do the honorable thing and shake the prime minister's hands. We can disagree on our politics, but we can be civil. We're turning to the phone lines now to take your calls. Good morning to you, Marlon. You're the first call online this morning.
Good morning, Tyrone. Let me say good morning to your listeners.
This is Marlon Morgan.
That is correct.
How are you, sir?
Years ago, I'm good.
Senator, Mr. Senator, pardon me.
Well, we're not so big on the titles, we're just big on the work, the work on behalf of Jamaica. Now, Tyrone, some years ago, Dayton Campbell coined a term as he fired a particular barb. I suspect that people like Lisa Hanna at the time, and he cautioned comrades against the laborization of the PNP. As I am observing what is happening, and especially against the backdrop of some comments Dayton Campbell made in Darlington, Westmoreland some weeks ago, where he urged comrades basically that when people go low, he goes lower. And I suspect he was inviting them to do the same thing, which is to go lower. And so as I consider that and look at all that is happening, especially in light of your opening comments this morning and even this latest development in relation to this constituent up in St. Catherine Northwestern who elected to decline to shake the Prime Minister's hand, I am considering and characterizing what is happening in the PNP as the Daytonization of the PNP. The country will recall, Tyrone, that some time ago, DBNG, the first DBNG, featured heavily in Jamaica's destruction, as it were, from a fiscal standpoint. And there's another DBNG that is in vogue. We want to implore Jamaicans not to put that DBNG in a position to destroy this country. And the DBNG I am referencing this morning is Dayton, Bunting, and Goulding. Yes? Cautioning Jamaica against that. And where am I going with all this? You will appreciate, Tyrone, that there are some detractors right now who are taking issue with the Dennis Strong appointment by the Public Service Commission, their recommendation to the GG for his appointment as Chief Technical Director at FIG. Because what they're citing, among other things, is that he made some comments in relation to the IC's report that has been referred to the FID that were improper. And bear in mind, Dennis Strong has served on many programs and discussion events across this country and across media, where he has provided comments and perspectives from a technical standpoint in particular, and as a public affairs commentator in his own right, based on his skill set, his experience, and his expertise over the years. Yeah? And they are using that to, bar him, as it were, from being eligible, or that is what they would hope to see. And the truth of the matter is that when Dennis Strong said what he said, he was not in his incarnation as Chief Technical Director at FID. But what we find curious on the part of the PNP and some commentators in civil society is that an incumbent office holder at the time, and I'm referring here to the head of the Integrity Commission, he retweeted something in circumstances where he had certain knowledge that it was not in fact so, that the Prime Minister is to be charged, yes? And not only that, on the occasion of the unfortunate incidents of shooting of a staff member at the IC, a staff member of the IC, that being Ryan Evans, I believe it was, the journalist put a question to Greg Christie. And remember, Greg Christie was speaking in his capacity as the substantive head at the time of the IC. And he said some things that were very unfortunate, repugnant, and I dare say untenable. He said that the journalist must ask the government that. And when the journalist pressed further, because I'm sure the journalist was taken aback by that kind of unsavory and untempered comment, intemperate remark, Greg Christie doubled down and said, ask them what that means. Yes? So Greg Christie was the office holder at the time, and you didn't hear the PNP coming out and taking issue with his unfortunate and repugnant comments in the context where he was head of the Integrity Commission, an office that receives and certifies statutory declarations of members of, the public service, in particular parliamentarians. Yeah? They didn't come out. You didn't hear a peep out of civil society in relation to those remarks either. But yet some of these same players are coming to invariably impugn and raise baseless questions, I believe, in relation to the Public Service Commission. In that, in recent times, Tyrone, and this media house took on the issue, has brought to the fore some allegations in relation to the context and circumstances around which and against which two officers at the IC demitted office. A senior investigator, her name is Tamika Fiddler-Blake. There were some allegations surrounding her separation, and there are certain allegations surrounding the separation of Mrs. Keisha Prince Kamika, who served substantively as Director of Corruption Prosecution at the IC as well. The allegation is that that lady proceeded on leave, or may have been directed to proceed on leave, and she was advised, it is alleged, that her contract will not be renewed, but it is also alleged that she was told that she should not apply or seek to apply. She need not apply for another stint, as it were, as Director of Corruption Prosecution at the IC. And I have not heard Carol Narcisse of the Civil Society Coalition. I have not heard Jeanette Calder of JAMP, and I have not heard Daniel Archer of the National Integrity Action in relation to the allegations surrounding how certain officers at the Integrity Commission have come to be separated, because in the case of Tamika Fiddler-Blake, it is alleged, Tyrone, that that particular lady had she took umbrage with the conduct and the carriage of the investigation into the Prime Minister's statutory declarations. That is what is alleged. And that is why both leaders on government side, Kamina Johnson-Smith and Edmund Bartlett, wrote jointly to, of course, the incumbent head of the IC in terms of chairman, the retired Justice Carol Lawrence Beswick.
Well, Marlon, Morgan there. Thank you.
There are a couple other things.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you one more, Marlon. We have to take some other calls. But I'll say this before you do, though. Dr. Dayton Campbell in particular, and you're a member of the political class, he's not the finest political class as to offer. Yeah, and when he was elevated to that seat, I questioned of General Secretary, de facto CEO of the PNP. I questioned, whether he had the temperament, because to function in that role. But we've seen him, and in particular, particularly being, it was so vulgar, his attack on Paula Llewellyn. And that one I'm telling you, or lack of respect for these offices and our contempt for the office holders that cause us to to disrespect the office is not good for Jamaica in the long run. It is not good for Jamaica, and to be dragging public servants into the political fray like that.
And what it does,
it is not going to serve Jamaica well in the long run. I'll give you one more remark, Marlon, before we have to move on.
What it does, among other things, is to cause onlookers, a lot of those persons who are not as learned as Dr. Campbell, a lot of them are ostensibly sponges who will absorb and suck up what they see being, paraded and exhibited by their leaders. And perhaps no doubt why that lady elected to exhibit the kind of unfortunate action she exhibited in rejecting or declining to shake the Prime Minister's hand. And as we saw on Monday, yes,
But to be fair, though, you did see there in that clip a member of the PNP, a prominent member of the PNP, Damien Crawford, attempting to have her to do the right thing.
I laud Damien for that attempt at doing the right thing, as you say, and exhibiting that appropriate degree of leadership. I don't suspect others may have done the same. But just to be very clear, it is not surprising, therefore, Tyrone, considering the tone being set at the top and the lack of effort on the part of the PNP to appropriately inform and educate their members, why we saw that Kalisha Williams news report from TVJ, where some persons express the view that 6 or 1 half does not the other. Another lady expressed the view that she don't know anything about it. She only know that she want change. And a man made the point that Dennis Strong is not qualified. He only can account.
Thank you very much,
on their calls. All the best, my brother. Do enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, man. Have a good day, man. I enjoy your weekend. You and your family. Now, can we play that video, Nora? That video, when we come back from the break, can we play that video with the people at the protest, not knowing why they're protesting? If we can play it, I want you to line that one up for us, Lady Nora. Ian, good morning to you. You're up next.
Hi, Ron. How are you doing?
I'm not too shabby now. Nora, have I gone past the next break? Can you hold, Ian? Nora, take the break now. Do we need to take the break, Lady Nora? I'm not sure. Well, all right. Go ahead, Ian, until Lady Nora's. Oh, yes, we have to break. All right. Hold the line for a minute, Ian. And Nora, see if you can line up that video for me. I'm happy Marlon Morgan has raised it because I have a point I need to make about what happened in that video. All right, this is Cliff Hughes Online. It's a TGI Fiduciary. We have Ian online. Yeah, we're talking matters of national import right here in Jamaica. We soon come. My hands were... Yeah, I tell you what I think that issue is.
The protesters seemed confused about what exactly the protest was about and the functions of the FID. You have a placard saying Dennis Chung and the FID. What do you know about the FID?
Well, I don't know. I don't know but you know, I'm here for a change.
He cannot lead the FID. He doesn't have the qualifications to lead the FID.
Why is it that? What do you understand about the agency itself?
I don't understand about the agency, but all I know is that the man only can account.
I know it was an organization that was formed to politicians to declare the assets true. Chung don't support it.
That's the Integrity Commission though, not the FID. We just mentioned
6 or 1 half. I'm not sure. But that's it.
Why Chung must?
Because he's not qualified.
Why do you say the agency is corrupt?
No, they don't investigate no crime. They investigate corruption.
That aside, the PNP.
Now, I want to say this first of all, before I tell you the major thing I think about this. Now, one, people aren't going to know everything. People aren't going to know everything. And they may not be able to tell you what is the mandate of certain institutions in the country. And I think we can appreciate that. I don't think we need to weaponize people's ignorance, them not knowing, because there's no one person who knows everything. So with that backdrop said, it is embarrassing though, that at a protest that came after the People's National Party gave the government an ultimatum of 72 hours. Not certain why, because they gave the government that ultimatum, seeing the government is saying the appointment was handled by the PSC, the Public Services Commission. And they would have had to mobilize their troops to get them to show up to protest against the appointment of Dennis Strong. The bigger issue, I think, here is that this is a failure of leadership. That's my thinking on this. What you saw there is a failure of leadership. It means that the leadership of the People's National Party perhaps did not take the time or did not do a good enough job of explaining clearly to the people they were mobilizing to their captains of hundreds and their captains of thousands to get the message down to the foot soldiers why exactly they are protesting. In principle, I don't really think they have a point, but at least they could have attempted to make out the case. And for those who are saying, I'm certain the reporter just randomly approached people. She didn't know these people before. And it's a good piece of journalism from Kelisha Williams, I must say. A good piece of journalism. It's a failure of leadership is my argument. That they did not communicate to the foot soldiers why we're here in simple terms that they could understand and relate it. This is not a good look on the leadership of the People's National Party. Absolutely not a good look on the PNP leadership. I believe what we saw there is not just people not knowing, it is a failure of leadership. We're going back to the phone lines. I think our next caller is Dean.